There's a new director of national intelligence, but what are her views on China and Iran? And in a slew of executive orders, Biden reversed many of Trump's policies yesterday. So what is Trump's legacy? And many have been wondering about the social media platform Parler and if it's back online. There are signs it's using a Russian service to host it. Tune in to Deep Dive to find out more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. There's a newly confirmed Director of National Intelligence. She'll be joining the administration soon. The Senate was busy confirming Biden's cabinet members while the Biden administration was settling into the White House. On Wednesday, the Senate confirmed President Biden's nominee for Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines. The Senate voted to confirm her following a hearing by the Senate Intelligence Committee. Haines is the first Biden cabinet member approved by the Senate. All Democratic senators voted to confirm her, while 10 Republicans dissented. Haines will be the head of the nation's intelligence community. She previously served under the Obama administration. On the issue of countering communist China, she says the U.S. should adopt a more aggressive stance. She called China an adversary on some issues and adversarial in general.
I think our approach to China has to evolve and essentially meet the reality of the particularly assertive and aggressive China that we see today. China is a challenge to our security, to our prosperity, to our values across a range of issues, and I do support an aggressive stance, in a sense, to deal with the challenge that we're facing.
Both Warner, the top Democrat on the committee, and then committee chairman Senator Marco Rubio have said the CCP poses the greatest national security threat to the United States. On the issue of Iran, Haines says the Biden administration is willing to re-enter the Iranian nuclear deal if Iran also complies with it. That's despite the nation stockpiling nuclear fuel above a critical threshold and blocking inspection at suspect sites. Haines is replacing former Representative John Radcliffe, who served in the post for almost 8 months. During his tenure, he declassified documents relating to the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign. That's over alleged collusion with Russia to influence the 2016 presidential election. Special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation from May 2017 to March 2019 found there was no collusion between Trump's campaign and Russia during the 2016 campaign. And it also found no evidence of a criminal conspiracy. The Trump administration is known for its hardline stance towards communist China, long seen as the antithesis of freedom. When Trump campaigned for re-election in 2019, communism versus freedom was one of the key themes. So what were some of his choices on China? Areas include supporting Taiwan and Hong Kong, defying decades-long protocols of appeasing Beijing, which sees Taiwan as part of its mainland, while the Democratic Island staunchly denies that. Last September, Keith Krach, the Undersecretary of State for Economic Growth, became the highest-ranking State Department official to visit Taiwan since 1979. That's when the U.S. government transferred diplomatic recognition to Beijing. During the final days of the Trump administration, the State Department removed all self-imposed restrictions on contacts with Taiwanese officials, which laid the groundwork for even closer relations with the Democratic Island. On the pandemic, the U.S. also followed Taiwan's suit. Taiwan was first to stop flights from China. Trump banned travel from China on January 31, 2020, less than 2 weeks after the first infection was confirmed in the U.S. He has repeatedly referred to the virus as the China virus and criticized the CCP for suppressing early warnings about the outbreak, as well as allowing international flights to leave the city while locking down Wuhan internally. On the issue of intellectual property theft, the Trump administration also cut off revenue streams from private firms tied to the People's Liberation Army or China's military and blocking the espionage threat posed by Chinese technology. The Trump administration did so by banning purchases of equipment and software from some firms while prohibiting trade with a long list of others. The list of no-trade entities now contains hundreds of Chinese firms, many of which were blacklisted due to their ties to the People's Liberation Army. The Trump administration also took a stand on human rights, breaking decades of silence on these abuses by the Chinese regime by sanctioning the CCP officials responsible. Trump also withdrew from the World Health Organization and the United Nations Human Rights Council, organizations where the Chinese regime holds positions of power. Here in the U.S., Trump also worked to root out communist infiltration. Communism works to abolish private property and free enterprise, which can also be achieved over time through ballooning levels of taxation and regulation. Trump slashed taxes. Lower taxes revitalized the U.S. economy, brought back manufacturing jobs, and achieved low levels of unemployment. And this question has come up a lot recently. What is President Trump's legacy? Some people said that among the 5 to 6 most recent presidents, Trump is the only one who did not start a war, which he also mentioned in his farewell speech. Trump built a border wall and drastically reduced the influx of illegal immigrants. And in short, as stated on the White House website, promises were made and promises were kept. But many have pointed to restoring American traditions as Trump's greatest achievement. That is, to the ideals and practices of the founding fathers of the United States. The belief in God and Americanism. The achievements lifted above are examples of fundamental changes Trump made. He also promoted freedom of religion domestically and globally. One of those was Trump's 1776 Commission. It was formed last September. When Trump signed the executive order last November, he said it was to, quote, better enable a rising generation to understand the history and principles of the founding of the United States in 1776, and through this form a more perfect union. Trump said he was restoring the national unity by grounding these in America's shared founding principles. Going back to the Declaration of Independence, where it states the United States of America was founded on the belief that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are unalienable rights. These principles form the core of our American identity. The goal was to help future generations remember what the country was founded upon. The commission released a report just days before Trump left office, revisiting the nation's founding principles. The 1776 report notes in the introduction, "In the course of human events, there have always been those who deny or reject human freedom. But Americans will never falter in defending the fundamental truths of human liberty, proclaimed on July 4, 1776. We must always hold these truths." The report goes on to note the division among Americans in their understanding of the country's founding history and how it should be governed. The report re-examines the principles and ideas set down in the Declaration of Independence. It says neither America nor any other nation has perfectly lived up to the universal truth of equality, liberty, justice, and government by consent. Adding, but no nation before America ever dared state those truths as the formal basis for its politics, and none has strived harder or done more to achieve them. The report also looks at challenges to America's founding principles, some that are historical, like slavery, and others that are contemporary, like progressivism, fascism, communism, and identity politics. The report states the arguments, tactics, and names of these movements have changed, and the magnitude of the challenge has varied, yet they are all united by adherence to the same falsehood, that people do not have equal worth and equal rights. It warns of the dangers of modern political movements departing from America's founding principles, noting great reforms like abolition, women's suffrage, anti-communism, the civil rights movement, and the pro-life movement have often come forward that improve our dedication to the principles of the Declaration of Independence under the Constitution. The report also calls for a national renewal of education that teaches future American citizens to stand up for America and defend our way of life. The report notes, at home, in school, at the workplace, and in the world, it is the people and only the people who have the power to stand up for America and defend our way of life. 2 days after the report was released, President Biden has rescinded it in an executive action. The 1776 Commission is commonly seen as a direct response to the New York Times 1619 Project, which portrays the United States as an inherently racist nation. The Pulitzer Prize-winning project consists of a collection of essays that argue that the primary reason for the American Revolution was to preserve slavery. The 1776 Commission report warns that U.S. colleges and universities have become hotbeds of anti-Americanism, libel, and censorship, with the intention to manipulate opinions more than educate minds. It specifically calls out historian Howard Zinn and the 1619 Project for preventing students from seeing the humanity, goodness, and benevolence in America's historical figures. According to the report, young readers are instead being presented with a distorted version of U.S. history. The report noted historical revisionism that tramples honest scholarship and historical truth, shames Americans by highlighting only the sins of their ancestors, and teaches claims of systemic racism that can only be eliminated by more discrimination, is an ideology intended to manipulate opinions more than educate minds. Following the presidential transition, the 1776 report has since been removed from the White House website. It can still be found under the archived Trump White House website. And many of President Trump's policies have already been reversed under the new administration. Trump said in his farewell message, "While there's a new administration in charge, the movement we started is only just beginning."
The movement we started is only just beginning. There's never been anything like it. The belief that a nation must serve its citizens will not dwindle, but instead only grow stronger by the day.
As Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But some are now starting to question if that's still the case, as big tech steps in and starts censoring free speech. Speaking of free speech, an update on Parler. It's now using a Russian service to host its platform. DDoS Guard offers protection against distributed denial of service attacks and provides hosting services. Parler's chief operating officer told the New York Times that DDoS Guard supports only a temporary web page. He says the company would attempt to find other firms to operate its entire social media network. The website is still having trouble getting back online. Some have speculated Parler is going to use the Russian company's hosting services and be subjected to Russian laws. Parler COO Jeffrey Wernock says he is not using the Russian company's hosting services and prefers to find an American firm for that. DDoS Guard says it does not disclose customers' data to third parties. Parler had been kicked offline by Amazon Web Services. Amazon, Apple, and Google all removed Parler amid claims the site helped incite the violence at the Capitol on January 6th. Parler is currently suing Amazon, saying the company has no evidence the social media platform was used to incite the U.S. Capitol breach. And as of yesterday, we have been demonetized on YouTube. That means ads or the ability to earn money has been taken away. The notice said it was because this channel was associated with another one that had violated rules. So if you can support, donate below to help us and see more content like this. If not, give this video a like so more people can see it. And while you're down there, sign up for our newsletter. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.